All right, thanks everyone for showing up. For our first real session is a group of 4, including myself.
Yay.
So we have basically Theron and Deadeyes, which are going to be joining Ghoul and Erlon, hopefully, if the conversation goes well. And Ghoul and Erlon have already, we've already played these characters, but we've started down the path of a quest. But right now, we are going to start. It is nighttime, and Theron, you have traveled the surrounding countryside. It's only been about 2 months since your tragedy that you experienced, and you've been traveling just the countryside, visiting village to village, staying a few days at a time, just taking any work that you can find to earn a little bit of coin and a meal.
Right on.
So the coin that you have is the result of you doing this kind of work. But you're on a quest of your own. You are on a path of trying to find your brother's murderer. And what you were doing, since you have really no other idea on how to go about it, you travel from end to end and you tell your story. And you try to gauge the reaction of the crowd to see if anybody at all even shows a sign or a hint that they know about this Lyric guy who is your brother's murderer. So, on this fine evening, it is nighttime, and there's 3 inns in Weaveshire. And this is your last stop for the night. And also, it's a nice enough inn that you plan on just staying the night here as well. And you have already spoken with Oren, the barkeep. He's a man of middle years, about around 40 years old or so, and a nice enough guy. But he was willing to let you basically do dishes in exchange for a room and a hot meal, and also a meal in the morning to set you off on your way. So it comes time. Now, this inn that we're in is called the Shining Star Inn and Tavern in Weaveshire. So there's a lot of bards that like to play in this inn because, as you can see here, all these colored tokens, each one of these is a patron. So the atmosphere is very lively. There's, as you walk in, there's a bard performing right in front of the fireplace, performing all sorts of tunes, and the crowd is just loving the music that's being played. And there's a lot of gaming going on at some of these tables, and it's, even though everyone's listening to the music, there's definitely a buzz of conversation going on. And the bard, eventually, you take a seat at the bar, and the bard finishes playing and decides to take a break. And so you decide this is your chance, and you head up to the mantle, and you feel everybody's eyes on you, but you were used to that at this point. And you don't really care because you were so bent on revenge that you could care less about making a fool out of yourself or whatnot. So you get up in front of all these people and you clear your throat and you begin to tell a story and a tale of your brother's murder and how it was in this monastery off in the mountains, not too far away, actually, just several days away from Weaveshire. Out in the mountains.
All right.
And as you do that, I want you to make an insight check.
All right. Yep.
Not too good. As you recount your story and you tell, you're doing your best at looking at every face and the demeanor of every person in this crowded room. And did you mean to roll that, Jared? Erlon?
No.
Oh, okay. You don't see any awkward, gestures or funny faces. You don't notice really anything out of the ordinary among the patrons here. But you continue your tale, and you go into the account of, the statue and this, and how your brother was basically a sort of sacrifice to this lyric guy. And at that moment, you see, it's nighttime. You see another fellow walk in through the doors. Let me enable this. So this odd-looking fellow walks through the doors and pauses, and he meets your eyes, and you meet his, and he looks away and starts looking at all the patrons, and he notices an empty table where there's no one sitting over here. So he makes his way and takes a seat. So you're up here and you pause for a little bit at the introduction of this figure. So Mike, tell us what, if someone were to see your character Deadeyes walk into a tavern, what did they see?
See a guy with no hair, got darker skin, looks like he's pretty weather worn. He has tattoos all over his body that are like non-Euclidean geometry type of tattoos, kind of crazy all over. His eyes are like this kind of crystally ice blue. Looks a little freaky, very kind of intimidating. It's like something that just catches your attention, but then you don't really want to keep looking because you're afraid that you might notice you or something.
So how intricate are these tattoos then? It sounds like these tattoos are pretty complex.
Yeah.
Is it something that a human might have the skill to achieve, or are these somewhat...
It seems rather unlikely. It's definitely not something you see anywhere else.
Okay. So you have come... So your character, Deadeyes, you have just arrived to Weaveshire, and from just asking directions as to where the Shining Star Inn and Tavern is, which was your destination, you finally arrive and you take a seat. And you see a beautiful waitress come up, and she seems kind of hesitant to talk to you, but she stops just short of the table and she says, "Hello, sir. Can I get you a drink? Perhaps a hot meal?"
I look at her, and Deadeyes ponders for a minute, tries to kind of focus on what she's saying, and he says, "No, thank you. I'm just here to rest and take in the ambiance." And but then mentally, she hears in her head, "Yeah, I want a beer."
You see her quickly look around, and she's looking at all the patrons, and she looks behind her and then at her feet. And then she turns back around and looks at you, and she seems confused.
So he looks at her again, like trying to figure out why she's confused. Yeah, I think he catches on to what happened, and he uses his mouth and he says, just an ale, or maybe two. Yeah, two."
And she looks at you and she says, 2 ale?
Yeah, that'll be good.
And she then says, "Coming right up, have you tried the Weave Blue Ale?"
I don't know. You're talking about doing the sample. I don't know if that's happened yet or not.
No, it hasn't. Not yet.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't tried that yet.
Okay. And at this time, you're also hearing this figure up at the fireplace telling a story while all this is going on, and you're having this conversation with Pela about, this waitress, about the drinks. And Theron seems to end up in this telling of the story, and you didn't really catch the whole context of the story, of course. But the whole crowd just starts laughing, and one of these men right here that I'm pinging.
Chuck's up next.
And he yells out, "What crazy tales you tell?" And he says that right to Theron.
Well, he's pretty much used to it by now. So unless he's done, he's going to probably continue his tale.
Okay, well, you're starting to end the end of your tale. What all do you account in your tale? How far do you want to go in your story? There's a lot to your story that...
Like when I'm telling the story to everyone else, Theron?
Yeah, when Theron is telling the story to all these patrons, how far does it go?
No, not very detailed, just brief. I'm just trying to get a reaction out of people when I use the word lyric or anything like that.
Right.
But since everything seems normal, I'll probably just end up calling it quits and try to... Well, since did I see the new stranger walk in? Did I?
Yes, you did, yes.
I'll probably end up just going and taking a seat next to him and start questioning him.
Yeah, the whole place is quite crowded, and there seems to be a lot of gaming and stuff going on. Also, from the look of the patrons, a lot of these seem to be just be farmers and other possibly merchants throughout the little town of Weaveshire that congregate here. You're assuming on a common basis. This figure that walked in definitely looks way different than everyone else, clearly, from the tattoos and whatnot that you could not miss. And his icy blue eyes that he has. But you see him talking to one of the waitresses.
Alright. So I'll probably just wait until she leaves, and then I'm probably... Theron is going to go take a seat right across from him.
Okay, so you start advancing towards Pela, just as Pela, knowing that she has the order. But first, Deadeyes, did you want to... she asked you if you have ever tried the Weaver's Blue Ale.
Mm-hmm.
Did you... and she asked if you're interested in giving it a try. And, here's what you know. The Weaver's Blue Ale, you were in correspondence with a guy named Oren of the Shining Star Inn and Tavern about securing a contract to deliver some of this Weaver's Blue Ale to Starport.
Okay.
So, you could ask for Oren, or, there is a man of middle years up here that you do notice, but he's definitely tending to a busy crowd at the bar.
Okay. This is fun, just trying to figure out, what my character does, how he thinks and handles things. I think what Deadeyes is going to do, he's going to talk to Pela and he's going to say, I would like to sample that blue ale. I'm here on business to speak with Oren about that very thing, so that would make sense for me to try it out. And at the same time, I will mentally say to Oren, just mentally be like, hey, he's over here.
Okay. Is there a range on your ability to mentally talk to people?
Not that it says.
It's like 30 feet.
Probably. I'm guessing sight, because it doesn't say.
Is it sight? Okay.
That's what I would guess. But I don't think it specifically even says.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It is 30 feet.
Okay, so you know that Orin is just a touch out of your range of being able to reach his mind.
Okay. Well, then that would.
But she does say, when you mention his name, she says, "Oh, you have business with Orin?"
Indeed, I do.
And she says, "Oh, well, why didn't you say so?" And she says, I'll be right back." And she goes off. And Theron, that's when you notice when she heads up here. The Deadeyes, you notice a stranger approaching, which, by the way, Casey, what would a stranger see at Theron when they looked at you?
Stranger looked at Theron. Well, they would notice he has short black hair, probably to a little past his ears. He has kind of a light tannish skin tone, not like really dark tan, just a little light tan. Doesn't really get out the sun much, poor bastard. He has, as far as like color and skin tone and whatnot, he is pretty sure he has blue eyes. Just kind of like the standard. Why can I not find it? I have it right. Oh, okay, here we go. So about 6'1" height, green blue eyes, white with a slight tan, black hair to about below his earlobe, and looks around 200 pounds. That's pretty much what my character looks like.
Okay. So you approach this strange figure, and it's pretty much the only. Well, now there's someone sitting at this table, but you were originally sitting at this table as well, by the way. All
right.
So what do you say about his figure? He's just kind of looking at you.
He comes up.
Did I sit down, or am I just standing there looking at him?
Your choice. What do you want? Do you want to sit there and play a staring game with them, or?
Well, this was my table first, right?
At first, yeah. At first.
Oh, then I'm just going to take a seat across from him.
Okay.
Right on. Heck yeah. Does Deadeyes do anything, or?
So I'm going to just kind of like look over at Theron as he approaches and sits down, and then Theron, you notice that he actually doesn't have any discernible pupils to his eyes. It's kind of a solid, almost like you could swear they almost glow a little bit, like this blue. It's a little creepy, but like definitely an interesting character sitting there. And I will just eye Theron, and as he sits down, I will think to him, I didn't catch all of your story.
Oh. All right. Well, Theron's going to respond, "Oh, you didn't miss much. Was just telling a tale of how my brother died and the man who killed him. Would you like to hear?" Theron says.
Yeah, you definitely might be interested to see if this stranger might by chance know anything about this lyric guy.
Yep. Plan.
So, Theron, roll an insight check.
Oh, God, I did it. All right.
Okay.
All right.
You didn't notice any change in facial expression or anything at the name of Lyric in recounting your little tale about Lyric, which is very basic. You didn't go into too much detail. And at this time, it would have been during this time, Orin comes over and interrupts your story, actually. And you see this, he's not fat, but he's a bit overweight, typical of a barkeep who eats a lot of good food. You see this man approaching, and he sees you look up at him, and he meets your gaze, and he slows his stride a bit, and he seems a little bit uneasy, and he says, Are you the man people have been calling Deadeyes?
I will. Yeah, Deadeyes, you see a vein kind of pop out inside of his head. Looks like he's concentrating really hard. and he stands up and slowly turns and looks at Orin, and he says, "Many people call me that, indeed. Are you Orin?" While at the same time, mentally, Theron, you hear in your mind, "Excuse me for a moment."
And he says, "Oh, I am. I've been waiting your arrival." He says, "So, you agree to the predetermined price?"
I'm trying to remember which character this is. Remind me again. What was our agreement? It's been a long journey.
He says, "Well, I'm paying extremely well. I'm giving you 15 gold for initial payment."
Oh, right.
And then you'll get the other 15 gold when you finish taking the delivery to Starport.
That sounds like a great deal. I'll take that.
Okay. So he says, it is a bit late, so maybe if you came back in the morning and had a nice hot meal before you head out, and we'll get you loaded up. And then he looks concerned, and he looks at you. And he says, no offense, sir, but you don't seem like the type that would be able to haul a hand cart that distance.
I kind of smile, just a knowing smile, and nod, and I say, "Don't worry about it. I've done this for a while. I always manage to find a helping hand or two to take care of that part of it for me."
And he looks at you and just shrugs, and he says, "Well, very well then." And he reaches into his pouch, and he tosses a small little sack, and you hear a clang of gold coins. Well, you hope it's gold. But you hear a clang of coins on the table. And Theron, of course, you definitely can't miss any of this that's going on. So you're wondering, possibly in your mind, if this fellow is some sort of merchant from maybe some long-lost land or whatnot. But he says, "Well, enjoy your time here. You have a room yet?"
I'll say, "No, I just arrived."
He says, I'll get you the best room. And he says, "I believe we do have a few left that are available." And so he just gives you a nod, and he heads off. And okay. Theron, you then continue your story, and you don't glean any information whatsoever from Deadeyes that he knows Lyric. And then after a short while, Pela, she goes in the back room, and then she comes back, and she brings 2 mugs of ale. Scratch that. She actually brings 3 mugs of ale, one of them being the famous Weaver's Blue Ale, which is the same ale that you're going to be delivering. And she sets all 3 mugs down at the table and slides them your way. And she says, "Orin told me that this is on the house."
Okay. I'll say thank you. I don't think she told me her name, so I don't think I know her name is Pela. So I'll just say thank you for that.
Yeah, I actually only have this name played up here because it was due to a previous session.
Oh.
But since you guys saw the name, I figured, well, I'll just call her by her name so you know who I'm talking about. But so she then heads off, and she disappears into the midst of the patrons, just doing her normal work duties.
So I'll grab that mug of pale ale first and wrap my fingers around it and start drinking that, and look while looking over at Theron again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he finishes this story, and it's a tale about just to give you some. Well, did you read his background story?
Yeah.
So you know the basics of that story of how he was training in some monastery and his brother ended up getting murdered by the headmaster. And Theron is basically bent on well, it seems like he's just on a quest to find this Lyric guy who murdered his brother.
Right. Lyric was the master.
Yeah, the headmaster of the monastery.
Let's say to Theron, it sounds like a rather challenging endeavor you are embarking upon.
Theron replies, puts his hand on his face like he's, a bit exhausted. He's like, yeah, I'm not having too much luck so far, but I do intend I will find my brother's killer, and I will get my revenge on him.
Deadeye's nods just slowly, keeps drinking his ale. How is it, by the way? Am I enjoying it?
Well, yeah, it's a very tasty ale. Once you... Yeah, just give me a constitution check. Not a saving throw, but just a constitution check. Modified by your constitution modifier, if you have one.
Yes, +1. No.
Oh, yeah. You think it's a little bit kind of a light brew. You definitely have to drink, for you, a few of these to maybe fill anything. But you seem to handle it quite well. But it is a very tasty ale. So
awesome.
Okay, so with that, the bard that was originally playing after the little disruption of Theron's story gets back up and starts. You hear a flute starting to play, and some people near him start stamping their feet, and the place just starts getting pretty lively and stuff. So, I don't know. You guys talk more with each other. Theron, you have any questions you want to ask Deadeyes?
Well, I used my insight, so I guess really not too much more questions.
Okay.
I'll just maybe question him if he ever knew anything about a Lyric guy. That's probably it.
Yeah, and Deadeyes, you definitely don't know anyone by that name.
Right.
And I've never even heard of the name before. But you eventually get your hot meal, Theron. I assume you get a hot meal as well.
Actually, there is something Theron would like to ask. He heard how Deadeyes usually looks for some other happy helpers during his transporting quest, I guess I could say. So
right.
I'm going to ask him if he's by chance found any help, help moving his crates or whatever to the next area. Because that's what he's doing, right?
Yeah, they're barrels.
Barrels.
So he's gonna be given a hand cart to basically transport the shipment. But yeah, he did say in front of Orin that he always seems someone who is able to carry the cart.
Right on. So, with that said, or with that knowledge, I guess Theron asks, well, there's nothing left for me here anyways. Do you mind if I accompany you on your little journey that you're going?
Deadeyes keeps sipping his ale, and his eyes glancing over at the top of the mug at Theron. He sets it down, ponders it, and he says, that would be definitely worth considering. And in Theron's mind, he hears, yeah, definitely, come along.
So now here's what both of you know as well, by the way. I didn't draw a map or anything. I guess I should have. But in the little town of Weaveshire, the closest bigger city is a port city, and it's directly to the north, and it's called Blueport. And Blueport, there's a large harbor and stuff, a lot of fishing. That's like the main economy right there is fishing. Starport is to the west. It's another large port city in the kingdom of Mysticka. And so, Deadeyes, you just came from Blueport and arrived in Weaveshire. So you've already made the track. Now, going back, you know that you're going to have to get the shipment to Blueport, and then you're going to have to sail from Blueport to Starport. And then there's an inn, which, Oren gave you the details and whatnot in your contract. We won't cover that, but the inn that it's supposed to be delivered to and the guy to talk to get the rest of your payment.
Okay.
Which is it's a really, really good payment. But apparently this Weaver's Blue Ale is selling really good, and Oren doesn't mind sharing a little bit of his success with the people willing to undertake the task of transporting the shipment. It's a dangerous world out there. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know that as well, Theron. You've exhausted your time in all of the surrounding villages and now Weaveshire, and so you're pretty much wanting to go to Blueport to try the inns there.
Yep.
Because you're just going to tick off the cities and towns one by one, until hopefully you find some sort of lead.
Hell yeah.
Okay. So, I guess, yeah, so Theron, you're wanting to travel with Deadeyes to Blueport to help him with his shipment. For free. How very kind of you. Okay, so you guys have your meal. The night wears on. Question for you, Deadeyes. Are you able to stop your drinking tonight? What do you think?
Well, did you say she brought me 3 or just 1 for a Theron and 2 for me? 3 for me?
Well, the 3... You ordered 2 mugs of ale, and so they brought you that, but then they brought you a 3rd mug, which was the sample of the Weaver's Blue Ale.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be good for tonight. Not feeling particularly, I don't know, craving.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. You kind of have, a big day the next day.
Right.
Getting, the shipment to Blueport.
Yeah.
So normally... Now, I will tell you this. Normally on foot, going to Blueport, it's about a 2-day journey. But definitely with the cart, basically traveling with the cart is going to be considered difficult terrain. So it's going to take about twice as long with that cart, basically slowing you down. Maybe a little bit faster because there are some spots where there's a road, like a decent road, because of all the travel back and forth. But it's not like it's a road from 2 major cities. It's a small town and then a large port city up to the north. So most of the time the road is decent, but there are some kind of bad areas where, ruts in the road, from mud and other carts and wagons that have been pulled along the muddy trail. So, and plus, it's a heavy shipment. There's going to be 8 barrels. Wow. Small barrels of this Weaver's Blue Ale that you're going to be transporting. And that's all outlined in your contract as well. And on your contract, you also notice a special seal that's stamped on it that bears the same sign as the Shining Star Inn and Tavern. So, the morning comes. So let me adjust pretty much all this. So you come down from your room, to move this along. So it's in the morning, and I'm assuming, I guess this table's fine. Probably sure. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, you guys are sitting down. You place an order for. Oh. When you come down out of your rooms, by the way, you notice that the place is pretty much empty. You see one of the serving maids from last night is already there, and she's scooping ashes out of the fireplace. There's no fire going, but she's scooping ashes out into a bucket. And she seems like not particularly happy for some reason. You know, and occasionally she'll even mumble to herself. So
I guess I see Theron down there. We're kind of coming out at the same time.
Yeah. A couple minutes later, Theron comes out, and you guys place your order for a little hot breakfast. Maybe fresh, some baked bread and some gravy and other things. But when you're waiting on your food, there are two figures that walk in. First, you see a man, a human. Jared, why don't you tell us what they see when they look at you?
I see a really skinny, frail-looking man, almost looks sickly. Kind of walk in the room. He's got a lute on his back. He's got a couple swords. He's got long, blondish brown hair. Looks like what you'd expect from an entertainer or a bard type thing.
So. How many instruments do you have on you?
4, actually. I have a set of drums. You might not see the other 2, though. You probably just see the lute and the drum.
Right. Okay. Yeah, the others are smaller.
Yeah.
Usually you put them in your pack. Now, definitely of note is you hear the heavy footsteps of a figure that walks in directly right behind Erlon. Well, you don't know his name's Erlon, but this guy. And he's wearing a helmet, and it's open-faced. But even with the little bit of skin that you can see, you definitely can tell it's like a greenish gray hued skin. And just from the initial look at this figure's face as he walks in, and he even looks around, this guy must be really, really ugly with his helmet off. But he's walking in. He has a full suit of chainmail. You hear the rattle of the chainmail with every step that he takes. It's pretty heavy. He's oh boy, how tall is he? He's 6'2", 220 pounds. But his eyes are definitely just black pits. They look all black. And he has that pale gray-green skin on his face. But the rest of him is completely covered. And definitely you notice in one hand he's holding a halberd with a large blade. And strapped onto his back, you see a very large two-handed axe, otherwise known as a great axe. And he also has all sorts of hatchets or hand axes strapped at his sides in various places. Definitely a figure who seems like he really knows how to use them. But they come walking in, and I don't know if maybe your initial reaction is like, oh crap, we're being attacked, or, oh, orcs.
No, just I glance over at Theron and just kind of nod towards the door, because I'm guessing his back's probably to it, although you might have heard him walk in, but I'll nod over there and say, they look a little heavily armed to be entertainers.
More people to tell about my lifelong story.
Yeah, that is very true. Yep. Now these two figures, they hesitate as soon as they walk in. Erlon, when you walk in, you definitely notice, you see Serene over there that you met before, and she's cleaning the fireplace pit, and she seems to be mumbling something to herself, but she does not look too happy whatsoever. And at this time, Orin now actually comes through and in, and he says, Erlon, you're back. Here for a hot meal?
Yeah, just grabbing a meal before we head to Blueport.
And he seems a bit curious. He's like, why Blueport? And we continue to walk in, by the way. We probably...
I kind of glance at Serene, and then I kind of say, we got our reasons.
Yeah, and by the way, you don't notice any sign of Pela anywhere.
Yeah, I just know I don't trust Serene.
Yeah. Well, she's definitely... And you hear a few mumbles coming from her direction as well. You can't catch what she's saying, but she seems to be talking to herself, just mumbling. And so Orin goes in the back, and obviously to go fetch some food. He comes out with some food, but then he walks past us, and he goes over to this table over here and lays 2 plates down. And we see these 2 figures here, basically looking just like that they've already described. The strange man with all these weird tattoos with the bald head. Looks very strange. And then this figure here without a shirt on. No, I'm kidding. He has a shirt on, but...
Is he short on? Yeah.
He seems to be not really... Well, I don't know, Theron, how much attention are you paying these 2 figures that just walked in?
Well, have I seen them before?
Nope.
Well, I'm paying very much attention to them.
That's what I figured.
Heck yeah.
And Orin says to Deadeyes, you're very much welcome. And he says, just as soon as you finish that meal, I'll help you load up the cart.
Okay, sounds good. I'll say, hey, do you know these 2 that just came in?
And yeah, he waves a hand over and he says, these 2 fellows, well, Erlon I know quite well. He's a performer here often enough.
Indeed.
Which that's true, right, Jared? Erlon performs here.
Yeah, I make
okay.
money performing here quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a lot how he earns his income is performing. He's one of the performers at this inn. So, and then he he mentions the other, but he kind of talks quietly, and he says, the other one, not so much.
Not so much as in you don't know him so much?
And he kind of nods slowly to you, and he starts walking away.
Okay.
You can tell he felt uncomfortable.
Oh, man. I just had a horrible idea.
Erlen, being the guy that he is, he kind of noticed there was a side conversation going on there.
Yeah.
Really paying attention to what's going on around him.
You want to roll a perception check to see if you can make out what was said?
Sure. That'd be good.
Barry, also, while Orin is walking away, Deadeyes is going to contact Ghoul's Mind and try to impersonate Orin with my actor ability and say boo.
Okay.
Say what?
You're...
Boo.
So say that again. You're just going to say boo in whose voice?
In Orin's voice. To Ghoul.
Right behind him, you're going to have that noise?
Yeah, like in his mind, he just hears it. I don't know how he perceives it, but...
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So he suddenly hears the voice of Orin in his head say boo.
Uh-huh.
And you hear a deep voice rumble out from underneath that open-faced helmet as Orin's walking away. And Ghoul, this ugly fellow, says, "What game you playing at, barkeep?" And Orin stops, and he looks at Ghoul, and he has a completely confused look on his face. And he says, "Huh?" And he says, "What is that supposed to mean?" Boo.
Oh,
And Orin just shrugs and he says, I don't know what you're talking about. And Ghoul just lets out a grunt and just, and Orin shrugs and he continues off.
Hey, Orin, as he walks away, I yell, hey, how about getting us some breakfast so we can get out of here?
Yeah, and Ghoul says, don't take your time about it either. We're in a hurry.
Deadeye's is just laughing in the corner. He can't help it.
Okay.
So I walk over.
Erlon. So, real quick, though, hold on. Your perception check that you rolled earlier, a little bit ago.
Yeah,
when Orin was talking to Deadeye's, all you heard was that Orin said he didn't know the other guy. I don't know all that well or all that much, and that's all you heard.
So I see Deadeye's laughing though about what happened.
Yeah, you see him definitely chuckling to himself.
I walk over here and I ask him what's so funny as I sit down. Actually, I'm going to sit down over here.
Okay.
I look over it. I get this entertainer that just sits down at our table and kind of gaze into his eyes. And I just say, it's an inside joke. He just gets a big grin and just starts chuckling a little bit again.
I'm a big fan of jokes.
They say, I bet you are. I notice you're kind of well armed for an entertainer. Not to mention you're a rather burly bodyguard.
He's no bodyguard. Just a friend.
You hear another grunt come out from underneath that open-faced helm. And you think you hear the mumble of bodyguard.
I'll glance over at Ghoul and just hold my hand up and say, I mean, no offense. You'd be a good one.
And you hear another grunt. He doesn't seem too, I guess, enthusiastic about the compliment.
So I say, what
now,
are you guys doing in town? See you around.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What was it?
Sorry, I was just going to say, exactly what Erlon just said. I was going to say that, Erlon, you definitely noticed that you have not seen either of these two guys before, and you perform here a lot. And these are two new faces. So, but what you said was exactly...
I asked you, what are you guys doing in town? I haven't seen you guys around.
I guess I'll speak first and just say I'm doing some business with the innkeeper here. I'm traveling, taking a shipment up to Lootport. As for this gentleman across the table from me, I'll let him tell his story, but he's going to help me take my shipment up as well.
My turn, Theron? All right.
Yeah.
So Theron, just takes a squid or a drink of his mug or whatever got brought out to him. I'm assuming there was something to drink with the food that was brought out. Or was it just food?
It was food. You already had a drink there. They brought out drinks first, and then he brought out food.
All right, so maybe just take one last bite of whatever it is that's in front of me, and I look back and I say, I'm trying to find someone to kill.
Say that again?
And suddenly you hear this big, burly, armored figure not too far away from you say, grunt and say, who? As he seems definitely interested.
And as he says that, I say that again?
And I just, I say, ignore that, whatever, the last comment there from, I can't see his name.
Erlon.
Erlon, I ignore that last comment. I just say, I'm looking for a guy named Lyric. And then I right after I said I really try hard to pay attention to faces to see if maybe I can find something. So I'd use my insight.
Sure.
You can see I'm completely uninterested in that name. And I ask, you ever heard of a guy named Liam?
Liam.
Liam. That's what you say? So you
Yeah.
say Liam. Okay.
What do you guys say? Do you guys know anyone named Liam? You definitely don't.
Yeah.
It's a voice actor.
So,
Yeah, wrong plane.
so do I notice anything from school?
Well, because there's only two figures here, you're definitely better able to focus in on facial expressions and whatnot, and you
Yeah.
don't read anything.
All right. So, he just says, a bummer. Guess I'll have to continue my search then. Then he just turns back and starts eating again.
I say, you there. You ever heard of the Crimson Mask? Talking to Theron.
Oh. No, he just says nope and continues to eat. He doesn't give a crap.
So you continue
What
to
about
stuff
Dead
it. You
Eyes?
say
Do I
nope
notice
and you
anything?
start stuffing your face with your food.
Heck yeah.
Do I notice anything from Dead Eyes when I say that as well? The Crimson Mask?
Ooh, that is a good question. Dead Eyes. What do you have for your skills here?
Deception, intimidation, the important ones.
Yeah, you don't have history.
No, I don't think so. I mean, unless I encountered them with sailing around or something, I don't know.
Once you give me a history check,
Okay, so just
you know your
intelligence.
time being a sailor on the waters in all these port cities, you definitely might have heard something about the Crimson Shadow.
Crimson Shadow or Crimson Mask? Oops.
Or sorry, Crimson
It's the
Shadow.
Sorry.
It's Crimson
I
Shadow.
misspoke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You do. You've definitely heard of the Crimson Shadow. That's exactly what you needed, by the way. But all that you know is they're basically a band of killers that if you cross the wrong people that have an in with this group, that they tend to meet a very horrible death. And as far as you know, a lot of it is just rumor and whatnot, but there's definitely, with some of the sailors that you've talked with aboard these ships and whatnot, because there's a lot of stories being told, right, on ships, that there's a lot of legends surrounding them, but basically it's a group that you do not want to cross paths with. Very dangerous. And a lot of people will deny that they even exist. You know, saying it's all just stories that bards made up.
Right. I guess I'll look over to Erlon and basically say that. I've heard, haven't had personal contact with him, but I've heard stories.
Yeah.
So why are you interested in the Crimson Shadow?
A friend of mine goes missing. You two show up in town for no reason. Kind of coincidence, don't you think?
Oh man!
I'll say, well, I've got a reason.
You see this large burly figure take suddenly a very tight grip onto his halberd. And he mumbles, "A coincidence indeed."
I love this game. Heck yeah.
Now, Deadeyes, of course you definitely notice some rippling muscles here coming from this milled figure. Well, actually, never mind, you don't. He's wearing a full suit of chainmail, and he also has gauntlets on, so you're not really seeing much of his skin exposed with his arms.
Mm-hmm.
But you could definitely tell that there's from the force of the grip on his halberd. There's some strength behind it.
All right.
So Erlon, at his tone, is hinting that you're basically up to something, aside from what you've already said, that you're transporting stuff to Blueport, and then eventually to Starport. Well, actually, I don't know if you said that part. I think you just said Blueport.
No, just going to Blueport.
Yeah. So, I don't know. How does Dead Eyes take this?
I think he basically shrugs and goes back to eating.
Okay, what does Erlon do? He definitely, with that comment that was kind of a poke, seems uninterested in whatever it was you were trying to provoke, and he just starts eating.
So, if not here for the Crimson Shadow, why are you here?
Chew my bite, and I'll glance over at him with an intimidating stare and say, "That's what I told you. I'm taking a few barrels of ale up to Blueport, and then we're going to sail off to another port and deliver it, get some gold."
Okay, at this time, Orange shows up with 2 more plates of food. And also a different young girl that you've seen occasionally before show up with 2 mugs of some sort of brew. And they put it on the table in front of us. And Ghoul reaches into a pouch and pulls out 5 silver. And puts it on the table as well, in which the young lady snatches it up.
So as Oren is standing there, I ask him, "So Oren, these guys work for you?"
And he says, "Well, not this young fellow," as he points to Theron. But he definitely points at the strange tattooed figure, and he says, "Aye, this man here is delivering some of my finest ale for me. And he just arrived last night." And
Last night, you say, okay.
Yeah, and Ghoul looks at you, and you probably look at Ghoul, and we kind of both nod at each other, without saying anything, that there's no way it was this guy who could have done it. So, then Ghoul speaks out in his deep voice, "What about him?" And he just kind of nods ahead over in Theron's direction. And Oren nods and he says, "He showed up last night as well, too."
By himself, I say?
Indeed, by himself. Rambling on about some killer of his brother. Got quite a few laughs, he did. It was a good tale. And of course, Erlon, you know better than anyone how lively and taunting a crowd can be.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah. And so Ghoul looks at you again. Again, you guys don't really have to say a word, but these 2 seem to check out that there's no way they could really have directly involved themselves in this, since they seem to just arrived.
So I say, so you 2 together? I look at Deadeye.
I glance over my plate and look up at Erlon and say, "Well, he said he'd help me take this shipment up there. I'm not exactly sure what business he has. I think he's looking for the monk guy that killed his brother. But yeah, he's basically going to help me take the shipment up there. But after that, I don't know."
So you're hiring some people to help you take ale to Blueport?
So I don't really need to hire anyone. Got help But if you wanted to come along, that would be all right. Safety in numbers.
How do I know you're skilled at anything? I mean, you may be a liability.
I'll so at that Deadeye's just stares at Erlon with his intimidating stare again. And mentally he'll just say into his mind, you don't even want to consider the things I've seen and experienced.
Mind games don't mean anything to me. That's what I say.
Ghoul speaks out at this point and says, again in this deep voice, "You've seen lots of battle?"
Well, Ghoul didn't hear it.
Oh, that was all in Erlon's head?
Yeah.
And I said mind games don't mean much to me.
I see. Gotcha. I missed that.
And at that, Deadeye's will shrug his shoulder and cast minor illusion of pseudo dragon on their table.
Erlon, make an investigation check. Yeah, it appears to you that this... And now, is it on the table in front of Erlon?
No, on our table.
Oh, on your table. So, a pseudo-dragon seems to appear directly on the table, and it looks completely real to you, like he just summoned it out of thin air.
I reach out to touch it.
Well, it's on a different table.
Oh, I thought he said he put it on our table.
No, he put it on his own table.
Okay.
Trying to see what they look like in 5th edition.
Did you really reach out to touch a pseudo dragon that just appears? You might lose your hand.
Oh, I'm no novice in magic, so.
That's true. But I'll just summon it and I'll say, you can come with us or not. It's no mind of mine.
So you're a magic user then, I think.
Say indeed, I have been given the magic gift, it would appear.
What about your young friend? What skills does he have?
I just shrug my shoulders a little bit and start going back to eating and just say, you can pull a cart.
Very true, I laugh.
Ghoul seems to chuckle to himself.
I say, well, let me think it over.
Theron, you definitely catch that Ghoul, the smiled figure, is kind of chuckling at the idea of you pulling a cart full of ale.
Me? Yeah. Oh, you're talking to Theron.
No, Theron.
Yeah.
Theron.
I was going to say, I'm not pulling no cart.
Did Theron agree to pull those carts? Is that what he's doing?
Yeah, night before, remember?
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, I don't know if you actually agreed to pull the cart. I think you just agreed to go with them.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, you never did agree to pull the cart.
Yeah.
But he said he would help.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he said he would help. But
yeah, he said he would help.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I guess I shrug it off, whatever.
I guess in this case, helping means pulling the cart.
Yeah, guess I'm pulling the damn cart. Hey, I got a decent strength. I can do it.
Well.
Maybe we can get the half-orc to help out.
Maybe at like 5 foot every 5 minutes.
And Ghoul says, I'm no horse.
Yep. Theron don't care.
Dennis was trying to say, yeah, it is pretty heavy. That would be tough to do.
Okay. So, with a little conversation that we got going, basically we pretty much agreed to follow, unless there's anything else you want to ask, Erlon.
No, I actually kind of cut the conversation off with them, giving them no commitment, earlier.
Yeah.
And I turned to Ghoul and I kind of said, what do you think? A couple extra people to help us get the blue court?
Well, and Ghoul kind of, whispers to you that his only concern is it's probably going to take a bit longer to get to Blueport with this cart of ale that we're going to have to mess with.
Yeah, but the wilds are a little bit dangerous. We don't know how long.
Yeah,
we don't know what's going to happen.
He nods in agreement. Maybe it's worth to take a little bit more time and arrive there safely by having more numbers.
Yeah.
And this fellow over here clearly seems to be able to use magic. So that's always good as well. So
yeah, maybe we can gather some more information out of him about the Crimson Shadow, I'd say.
Yeah. Especially since this Deadeye seems to know a bit about him. We'll have to keep an eye on him, though. We don't know if maybe he's a spy.
Yeah, good way to keep an eye on him is travel with him.
Yeah, Ghoul nods in agreement. And he says, well, if we find that he is a spy, and Ghoul runs a milled gauntlet along the edge of his halberd at his side.
Trust me, if he had anything to do with Thomas's death or abduction or whatever is happening.
Yeah, disappearance.
I'll be the first to stick a sword in him.
He chuckles to himself.
And I look at Dead Eyes and I say out loud, we're in. When do we leave? Sooner the better, I think.
Deadeyes will look up from his food and you assume the expression on his face is one of surprise. It's kind of hard to tell with the way all of his tattoos and his eyes, but looks like maybe he wasn't exactly even assuming you guys would be in on the deal. Maybe had already written it off, but he looks up and he says, well, that's great. That'll be a lot safer traveling at least.
Yeah, and Ghoul grunts an acknowledgement, an agreement.
I say, but one thing, in the future, keep your magic out of my mind.
And I'll just think to Erlon, I'll just say, if it was just that easy.
Well,
I don't know how to take that.
Yeah, if only it was that easy. So, after a bit of discussion, we finish our food, and it comes time to load the wagon. Now we head out back where we're near the stables, and your cart actually, Deadeyes. You brought a cart with you. It's a hand cart. Because remember, you actually traveled with a group of people here to Weaveshire, but all these people lived in the surrounding area, and so when you arrived to Weaveshire, they all pretty much separated their own separate ways. So you just parked your cart at the stable, so you go and collect it, and there's a stable boy there, and you bring it out back to the back door of the tavern, and Warren comes out and starts loading it with the 8 barrels, small barrels. We can call them kegs. 8 kegs of this Weaver's Blueshire, or Weaver's Blue Ale. You there, Jared?
I think the static might have been from Jared.
Yeah. You there?
Yeah, I'm back. I got
Sweet.
kicked out for some reason.
Yeah, weird. Okay, so the wagon is being, the hand cart is being loaded with 8 kegs of this Weaver's Blue Ale. And we have our stuff, and we start to head out. And Theron, make a strength check.
All right. Where this wagon better not make me look like a pug. All right, here we go. Come on, baby! Yeah!
Oh,
Wow.
Hell yeah!
Nice
Pull
roll.
that shit with might.
Very nice.
Very nice indeed.
Why did you do +3 though?
Because I'm proficient in strength, right?
Yeah.
athletics.
Oh, that's not a saving throw. It was just a
Oh.
strength check.
Okay, so +1. My bad.
But whatever, it's still a really good roll.
Yeah, it's still a good roll. So 18.
Okay. So you find that because of the torque that you have with the handles as you lift up on it, with the center of gravity just being shifted along over the wheels, you find that you're able to pull the cart pretty easily.
Or in other words, I'm just a badass, but yeah, that works.
Yep.
Heck yeah.
Maybe it's your monk key energy moving through you, helping you out as
There
well.
you
Who
go.
knows?
Heck yeah.
But yeah, you put your mind to it, and psh, boom, you're able to pull
Go on
that
a
cart.
road trip, guys.
All right.
It's easy compared to all that monk training.
Alright.
Yeah. Okay, so it is still morning.
You notice Erlen makes no move to help with the cart at all, but he doesn't really look like he could. He's so frail.
Ghoul actually looked surprised, as if he was waiting to step in to try to pull take care of the cart. But he definitely had a look of surprise come across his face as Theron just heaved up the cart and it starts rolling.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get a heck of a workout carrying that thing all the way to Blueport.
Oh yeah, dude, this is how he gets ripped. Right here.
We travel the first day. Pretty much nothing eventful happens. We pass a few travelers that were headed the other direction, headed towards Weaveshire. But after just a little hand gesture of a wave and a nod, of just a formality, neither party stops. We just continue on. And before we know it, we break around high sun, eat some of our rations, take a few swigs of water from our water skins, and continue on. And before we know it, the sun starts to go down. And it seemed like it's about time to find a place to set up camp for the night. So we set up camp. Now, how many of you have tents?
I
Any
do
of you
not.
have a tent?
I don't. I just have a bedroll. So.
Yeah. Deadeyes and Theron?
Nope, not me. Not Theron.
Okay. Now, on this map, because I thought maybe a couple people would have tents, so just ignore them. They are not there.